We're back for the afternoon, day 7 session, day 7 afternoon session of Disorder in the Court, live coverage of the Adam Montgomery trial. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Step right in. Please remember to hit the thumbs up as you enter. Or if you're already here, please remember to do that. Hello, Marie. Hello, Claus. Hello, Accounting by Day. Queen Bella, Mayla's mom. And the other people coming in. Hello, hello, hello. Court should be back any moment now. We will continue to hear. Hello, Johnny. Here's Johnny. Hello, Evil Queen. Good to see you.
Please be seated. Attorney Agati, if you want to get Detective Rahill back, we can start with him on the stand.
Arlet? This judge really likes to keep a very prompt court. I have to commend her on that.
Documents, just FYI.
No, Your Honor. There were the person who was assisting us in drafting them had missed 2 edits. I've made corrections to those 2 edits, and I've asked them to submit them. And I asked them for that about 10 minutes ago, so it may just not be in yet.
Okay, so the pleading is not going to be identical?
No, it will, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I should say redactions rather than edits. I apologize.
Because
there were 2 areas that had not been redacted out that you had asked to be redacted, and I said, no, these are included.
Okay, but it's the identical pleading.
Yes,
because that's the pleading will be open to the public. And
that's
the other
correct.
One,
that's correct.
Okay. All right, Detective Rahill, when you're ready.
And Detective Rahill will come back onto the stand. I believe this is his, yes, this will be his cross-examination after he testified to the Home Depot and bank transactions.
All right, Detective Rahill, if you would just come back up and take the stand, please. And while you're doing that, we can have them come in. All rise for the jurors, please.
There's the ghost fart that we always hear when someone walks in a certain field, a frequency field in the court, a sound frequency field. I should find some sort of ghost fart emoji or something. That would some sort of emoji for members that depicts the fact that these trials are always such a clusterfuck when it comes to the technology. There's the sound, there's a connection. Maybe we should take a vote on which lawyer is the worst and the best at staying by the mic. The tall drink of water there, boy oh boy, he really does not pay much attention to where he is in relation to
Detective Rahill, just a few more questions for you. During your involvement in this investigation regarding those records that you received from the Home Depot, did you attempt to obtain surveillance footage from the Home Depot? Surveillance footage of specifically that February 26th transaction?
Yes.
Were you successful in retrieving that, obtaining it?
No.
Can you tell the jurors why not?
It was the date that we needed was too far back from when we asked for that, on the date that we asked.
Detective Rahill, would you recognize the defendant if you saw him today?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
Detective Rahill, I'm showing you it's been marked. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 101. Do you recognize the individual depicted in that image?
Yes, that's Adam Montgomery.
during the course of your involvement in this investigation, the homicide of Harvey Montgomery, did you make an arrest?
Yes,
Who did you arrest?
Adam Montgomery.
The same Adam Montgomery I just showed you an image of?
Yes.
And when did you make that arrest?
It was October. I don't know the exact date, but it was back in October of 20. It was back in October of 2022 at the Valley Street Jail, which is 405 Willow Street, the Hillsborough County Jail.
If I can have just a moment. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, now the cross-examination.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Hey, Janessa.
When Kayla was on the stand, she was asked questions about purchasing drugs from Mr. Badero on the day that she claimed Harmony died. And she testified that she couldn't remember if she got the drugs from Badero. Did she tell you on June 23rd, 2022, that she got drugs? She went up and got drugs from Mr. Badero. I think she claimed after they had come back from Burger King, but before the car broke down.
I'm not sure. I'd have to refer to my report.
Sure. I'm going to show you a copy of the transcript. Actually, show you the official. And do you recall being present at her June 23rd, 2022 interview?
Yes.
Okay. If I showed you a copy of her transcript, would that assist you?
Yes.
It points you to page 224. And this is actually what I'm going to ask you about, but you can read before or after the order.
Yes, the SBEO show.
Okay.
And she actually told you all of you in that room, that she was the one that went up and purchased the drugs from Mr. Badero, right?
That's correct. She says that.
And she even was able to give you a reason why she remembered that she was the one that went up.
Yes. Do you want the page marked?
I do, thank you. Your Honor, I apologize. The doors only opened a few minutes before we started that.
It's okay.
Do you recall the photograph of that fuel grinder?
Yes.
And that was a photograph that Kayla initialed for you, is that right?
No, I don't believe so. She initialed the lime bag.
Well, were you present for the December prep session with Kayla Montgomery?
No.
December of this past December?
Correct. I was not present.
Okay.
Uh-oh. SBEO, get your shit together.
For Kayla's March
16.
16,
Yes, I was.
2023 interview. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That was also called a proffer,
Yes.
right? And during that proffer, you came with some photographs, right?
Yes.
And is States Exhibit 62 one of the photographs you came with?
Yes.
And that was the pictures of several four types of line, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. Also, I'm going to show you a copy of States Exhibit 63. Did you go with a copy of this photograph?
I don't recall. I'm not sure.
Okay. Is it possible?
It's possible, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you a copy of what's been marked Defendant's Exhibit I. Did you go in with this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you a copy of what's been marked Defendant's Exhibit H. Did you go in with this photograph?
Yes.
And you had been to collect the receipt from Home Depot prior to that March 23rd, 2023 interview, right?
Yes, we received those before that interview.
Okay. And is one of the things in the interview that you wanted to talk to her about was tools?
Yes.
And was Exhibit 63 one of the tools you wanted to talk to her about?
We wanted to talk to her multiple tools. I honestly don't recall that specific tool.
Okay.
Hello, boss lady. Hello, anybody else I've missed? Thank you all for being here.
Well, I will start with the photograph of the lime. You had already gone to collect information from Home Depot, right?
Yes.
And you had collected receipts for something that was purchased that day.
Yes.
And one of the things that set you to looking at purchases that day was mentioned by Kayla in June of 2021.
22.
That lime was in the Union Street apartment used in the shower.
Correct.
And so you were in part looking for purchases of lime.
Correct.
Right? And when you came across this receipt at Home Depot, it talked about a cash purchase of lime, right?
Correct.
And the purchase of the lime was $5.38, right?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Okay, and that was for a 40-pound bag.
Yes.
And did you also do research on what lime does?
For the soil,
Uh-huh.
it raises the pH.
And it reduces growth in bacteria?
Yes. I don't know if I can't answer that question.
Okay. So the only information that you have is putting it on lawns to increase the pH.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And the $199 item that was purchased, it only has a bunch of, and this is, I'm sorry, Exhibit 92.
We're talking about exhibit 92 now, or are you talking about the previous exhibit?
I thought that's what I was referring to previously. I'll withdraw that objection.
Okay.
So this is one of the pages, and I'll have it all together, of what's been marked as States Exhibit 92. And after the limestone, there was an item that is referenced for $199, right?
Okay, hold on a second. Council, could you approach for a second?
$199, right?
Yes. There's a transaction here for $199.
And in your research, you discovered that that was a battery,
Correct.
$200 battery, right?
Yes.
And then the next item was a Milwaukee fuel grinder, right?
Correct.
And how much was that?
$179.
And this purchase of the fuel grinder came with a battery, right?
I don't know.
You didn't check?
I don't know if it came with a battery.
Okay, it came with its own blade.
I don't know that.
Okay. So if the state said on opening that he bought an extra blade and a battery, that information would not have come from you.
Correct.
So that is almost $400 for a cordless tool, right? And a battery and a blade.
Correct. And lime.
And the lime was only less than $10.
Yes.
So when you took this photograph of various items of lime to Kayla to identify, you only had lime bags from Home Depot, is that right?
That's correct.
And when you asked her to point to the lime bag to see if she recognized it, she said she circled this.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation.
Overruled.
If we can approach, Your Honor.
Okay. The objection is sustained.
When she circled this item, she didn't circle it as the item. She circled it as most similar to the item, right?
Correct.
She did not identify this, even though it's circled as the type of lime that she recalled, right?
Correct.
And she did not circle it as the same packaging as she recalled, right?
Correct.
It was just the most similar of the four that you gave her from Home Depot.
Correct.
And you didn't go to any other place to check about other lime purchases in the area,
Correct.
except for the Home Depot purchases, right?
Correct.
And the Home Depot purchases in the 1 month period had about 33 purchases of lime at various Home Depots.
That's right.
Okay. So it is something that is purchased in the winter time.
Yes.
And, you know, if it reduces smell,
I don't.
okay. So then I'm going to go on to, did you subpoena Tabitha Scott for grand jury testimony?
Did I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So you went with photographs to talk to Kayla about potential tool searches, right? Tool that may have been used.
Yes.
Not that you had information that tools were used, you just wanted to talk to her about tools.
That's correct.
And you had information that led you to believe that perhaps a purchase of lime and a tool was made sometime around the time of what Kayla described as a shower at Union Street and manipulation of the body.
Is that a question? I don't. Can
Okay.
you rephrase that?
It was very poorly phrased. Break it down. Your discovery of what you think was connected or could have been connected, the line to Union Street apartment events that Kayla described. When did you make those discoveries?
Of the lime purchases,
Uh-huh.
well, we subpoenaed them. We subpoenaed Home Depot a couple months after her last proffer, where she mentioned the lime. Sorry. So we discovered them 2 to 3 months after we spoke to Kayla about the lime.
So about September of
2022.
22.
Correct.
And then you wanted to talk to her about tools, right?
That's correct.
And since you had a tool that seemed to be connected with at least one purchase, this would be one of the tools that you would want to talk to her about.
Yes.
And so you can't remember, but does it seem likely that you took this picture with you?
I can't recall, but yeah, like I said, I can't recall if we took that specific one.
Did you take a picture of this tool? Maybe not this one.
Like I said, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember the miter saw and the skill saw or the handheld saw, but I don't remember that one specifically.
If she hadn't described any tools as being used in the shower, why would you take a circular saw photograph?
To check to see if any of these saws or tools were used.
And if you had no information about tools being used in the shower, why would you bring a picture of a miter saw?
Just because she might not have been familiar with different saws, so we wanted to give her a couple different photos to show her.
And if you were wondering whether a fuel grinder was used, you probably wanted to bring a picture of a fuel grinder too, right?
Yes, that seems likely, yes.
Okay. So, you had Kayla describe the tool that she had said was in the apartment, right?
In the apartment, yes, correct.
And not in the shower or anything. This was just something that she recalled was in the apartment, right?
Correct.
And you showed her a picture that was neither the miter saw or the circular saw, right?
Yes.
And was that probably the fuel grinder?
No, I believe it was the circular saw.
Okay.
Um,
I'm going to try a little bit slower then. Do you recall showing her a picture that she said, no, that wasn't it?
No, I don't recall that.
I'm going to show you. If I showed you a copy of the transcript of that interview, do you think that might help refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you again a copy of, and this is the transcript of the March 16, 2023 interview, right?
Yes.
And you were present.
Yep.
And I'm going to show you the bottom of 8481. And again, you can read whatever you want for reference, but it's there at the bottom. And let me know.
Can I go to the next page? It
Yeah, I
cuts off.
say, review anything that you want to orient yourself. There are other pages, I will say, if you're looking for it, where we talk about the circular and miter saw.
Yes. So in these questions, it doesn't appear we describe what we're showing her.
Right. So
Right.
we'll have to get there.
Right.
I understand that.
Yes.
Okay. So you're, if I may?
Yep.
Okay. She had described the tool the old tool that was in the apartment under the counter.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you showed her a photograph and said, I'm going to show you a picture of a tool. Can you just tell me if you've seen it in the apartment or not? And she said no, right?
Yes.
And you don't know if it was a picture of the fuel grinder, but you probably had one there, right?
Probably.
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Overruled.
Right?
Yes, it could have been there. Like I said, I don't recall.
Okay. And you don't know if that was the picture of the circular saw, right?
I believe.
She's referring to.
Correct.
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
But at some point, she actually did identify the circular saw, right?
Yes.
And so it probably wasn't the circular saw that she was talking about there when she said, I never saw that.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Could you restate the question, please?
Since she recognized the circular saw, it was not the circular picture of the circular saw that you were showing her when she said she had never seen that tool.
Objection, Your Honor. Same objection. Speculation.
Council approach.
So, a very general description of what is going on here is that the defense is trying to find more holes to climb through to discredit Kayla's testimony.
So I want to have you, so you do recall that she identified when you showed her the picture of the circular saw, she identified that, right?
Yes.
And that was actually at a different part that you showed her that, right?
Yes.
And she was talking about the tool that was in the apartment when you showed her that, right?
Yes.
And you showed her a picture, and I'm at 844, a picture of a circular saw, and she said it was most like that, right?
Yes. I recall that.
And so this picture of the circular saw is the one that she identified, right?
Yes.
So earlier, when you showed her a photo and she said, I never saw that, it wasn't this photograph, right?
Correct.
after that, you showed her a picture of a miter saw, and I'm showing Exhibit H. Right?
Yes,
And you put that on the record that after you showed her that, she said, no, that's not the one, right?
correct,
You put on the record that you were showing her the miter saw, right?
correct.
So we have on the record right?
Yes,
So that first photograph that you talked about, which I've lost again, would have been the fuel grinder, right?
yes, it must have been if those other two were identified.
Okay. And do you need to see the transcript to know that the other two were specifically identified?
No, I remember those.
Okay. Now, Kayla, oops, I get the page, sorry. I'm sorry, my numbers are different, so it takes a little.
Oh, she's feeling a little bit flustered. Can't find her what she's looking for. There it goes.
Sorry. Kayla testified on direct, or on cross, I think, that she had not mentioned anything about Adam, or had not mentioned the story about Adam wanting to take a tool from her mother's house that she told prosecutors in December of 2023. And she said that she didn't say it because it didn't come up. Okay? You actually, one of you that was in the interview, she was actually asked, and I lost it again. She was actually asked if she remembered Adam buying anything or stealing anything or other types of tools like power tools or anything, right?
Yes, she was.
So she was actually asked about anything involving power tools with Adam, right?
That's correct.
And she did not, in this March of 2023 interview, mention Adam saying that he wanted to take her mother's fuel grinder, right?
Correct.
She did not mention in March of 2023 that Adam wanted to use a power tool to unharm him.
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
So, to answer your question about why she's going through all this, tool testimony, in general, what she's trying to do is discredit, and it's weird to me, but it's the dance you have to do in these court scenarios. She's trying to use Kayla's testimony to discredit evidence, but she spent like basically an entire day pointing out to the jury what a liar what a liar Kayla is. Also, there's questions about the the person in the back with the earbuds in, and I actually was interested in that myself. I think this might be it. No, this is it. Let me take down my oops. Let me take down my comment so you can see it. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Is this it? No, that's not it. There's an explanation. There was I guess I might have taken it down. I needed to make room for other uh first to upload things. But maybe I'll find it in my screenshots. Let's see here. Because I was super interested in this too. Oh, where are you, helpful screenshot? Where did you go, helpful screenshot? Huh. Gosh, what did I do with that? I guess is that it? No, that's not it. Huh. That's weird. I'll explain it in a minute what the court monitor does, because I do have a screenshot, but I don't know what I did with it. Basically, what was described is that the court monitor times the is just making sure that the official
Detective
record
Rahil,
is
you
timestamped.
also talked on direct about the removal of the sheetrock at Fit Shelter.
That's correct.
And you were present for the removal or one of the participants?
I was one of the participants.
Okay. And we also had Detective O'Reilly, I believe. Maybe,
He was present.
okay. Was the one that was sort of underneath the sheetrock and trying to cut it?
Yes.
And so the sheetrock was cut from underneath,
Correct.
that if you're standing in the room, you're looking at it. And from underneath, it was cut around a very large section of sheetrock, right?
That's correct.
And as it's ready to come down, is that when the paper is laid so that it can be laid on something that will capture anything that falls?
Yeah. So specifically, during that cutting of the drywall, we cut the drywall and the studs were the last things that were holding it together. So we made sure that we had a piece of paper ready to go once we cut those studs out, and had a team ready to transfer the wall to the paper.
Okay. And so the team is also underneath at various positions under the drywall, right?
Correct.
And as the final studs are cut through,
Yes.
people are gently bringing it down, bringing it down, bringing it down, and putting it on the paper.
Correct. It wasn't directly down. It was a little to the side from where we took it off. But yes, that was the motion.
Bringing it down and maybe moving it over
Yes.
and bringing it down and putting it down, right?
Yes,
And then paper, it is sort of wrapped up in paper, right?
that's correct.
So that you've got the paper that is bigger than the sheetrock, right?
Yes.
And as it is put on that paper, the paper is folded over so that it's fully covered by the paper.
Yes, we actually had to use 2 sheets of paper due to the size of the piece that we obtained. 1 sheet was not enough, so we had to actually take 2 pieces to tape them together.
Meaning that you had a strip of paper and decided another strip of paper?
That's correct. And I believe we taped it too beforehand before we actually wrapped it. like
seam
tape
of
the, yes,
two
correct.
together. So it's all taped up. You come down, you move it, you put it on the ground, and then you step away and somebody moves, probably on both ends, moves that paper to cover it up and moves the other side and covers it up so that it is not exposed to anything that you can help, right?
Correct.
And it was an arduous activity, right?
Yes.
But you all took care to preserve everything that you could.
Yes.
Right? And it may not have worked, but you were certainly trying to keep anything away from the top of that sheetrock, right?
It worked. We made sure that we did everything we could to make sure that nothing got into that sheetrock.
Okay, so it did work,
That's correct.
and people weren't sweating on the sheetrock.
I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Sweat.
Yeah, I guess that could have happened. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and so certainly while the sheetrock is being cut from the ceiling, it's hot in there and y'all are sweating, right?
Yes.
And then as you're bringing it down, y'all, it's hot and y'all are sweating, right?
Yes.
And as it being put on the paper, y'all are hot and you're sweating, right?
I can't speak to everyone, but yes, that's a possibility.
Okay, and you don't want your sweat to go onto the sheetrock, right?
Right.
So that as you're putting it down, you're trying to keep your distance as well.
Yes.
And that's why you covered it up right away.
Yes.
Okay. I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just make sure you're standing in front of a microphone, please.
So just two questions for you, Detective Rahal. The defense attorney just asked you about the second proffer with Kayla Montgomery, the June 23rd, 2022 proffer, and then that going into the March 16th, 2023 proffer, where you brought those tools. My question for you is related to the defense attorney's question of what information you went armed to that March 16th, 2023 proffer with.
Mhm.
So information from that second proffer on June 23rd of 22. During that June 23rd, 2022 proffer with Kayla Montgomery, did she talk about the defendant's statements about dismembering Harmony Montgomery?
Yes.
Okay. And she actually said, he told me he could put her in pieces.
That's correct.
And did she tell you the context of what he said that in? So did she say what he was doing right before he told her that?
I don't recall.
Did she? Well, let me show you. Do you think that seeing that proffer, the transcript from that proffer, would refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
And you can scroll up or down. Just look up when you're done.
So that last line of questioning from the defense was about whether there was contamination of evidence, like cross
Did
contamination.
that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
So, do you recall what she said that statement, what he said that statement in context? Or
Yes.
what was he doing?
He was putting her in the bag.
And she described steam coming out of the bathroom.
Yes.
Did she say he was working in the bathroom
Yes.
on Harmony's body?
Yes.
Let me ask you this, detective. Typically, well, in your experience as a detective with the Manchester Police Department, how would one go about dismembering a female horse?
Objection.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Fully what she said was, I know he was going to try and like put her in pieces because he said he was going to try, but he said he couldn't, or something like that, right?
Yes,
No mention of power tools, right?
correct,
An inability to actually do what she claimed he was saying.
correct.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of a witness you want, is just to be like, yes, no, and then if there's something misstated, correct them. You know, no need to get dramatic about it. He's a good witness. I'm not saying he helped either side, but he's just a solid, witness. There's the gallery. Next witness.
Please be careful of the wires.
So, Ms. Bedard, you can remain standing. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you'll provide this jury will be the truth and the whole truth and the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. You can have a seat. And if you'd like some water, you can.
Thank you.
Make yourself comfortable, Ms. Bedard. Can you start by telling this jury your name and spelling your last name for the record?
Yep, my name's Brittany, Britney. My last name's Bedard, Bedard.
And Ms. Bedard, what city and state do you live in?
I currently live in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Daytona Beach?
Yes.
Prior to that, where did you reside?
I lived in Auburn, New Hampshire.
And how long did you live in Auburn, New Hampshire?
I grew up there. I've spent the last 10 years minus 3 years in Florida, and yeah.
Ms. Bedard, what do you do for a living?
I currently I'm opening a business. I work for UPS as part-time, but I work from home.
And what's the highest level of education you said?
I've graduated college a few times.
Okay. Are you familiar with an individual named Travis Beach?
I am.
How do you know Mr. Beach?
I dated him for a little while when I came back home 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah, I came back from Florida. I moved back up here 3 years ago, and then I left a year and a half ago.
So I want to turn your attention to early March of 2020.
Mhm.
Back in early March of 2020, were you dating an individual named Travis Beach?
I was.
And back then, during early March of 2020, did you have an occasion to stay at the Econo Lodge here in town?
I did.
And do you remember the specific dates that you stayed at the Econo Lodge?
I don't know. I don't remember the exact dates.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, you may.
I've just showed the defense what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 64. And I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 64 for identification. Can you take a look at that and just let me know when you're done?
Yeah.
So having taken a look at that, do you recall with any specificity the date that you stated the counter watch?
It says on the March 3rd to the 4th.
And does that refresh your recollection as to when you stayed there?
I mean, I remember staying there, but I mean, it doesn't. It says it, so I guess I was there.
Okay. When you say it says it, do you recognize any of the names on that list?
Yeah, my name is there. I remember getting the room. I stayed there quite a few times, so
Did you in fact get 2 rooms during that period?
I don't remember getting 2 rooms. I remember. I don't know, I remember them having another room, but I don't remember getting both rooms.
I'm going to take this back from you, Ms. Bedard. When you say you remember them having another room, when you say them, who are you referring to?
I remember Adam and Kayla. It was shortly after I met them. That they were staying there too. I don't recall that because it was so long ago. The whole situation on why
Miss-
their room was in my name, but yeah.
Do you remember putting their room in your name?
Vaguely.
Okay.
I don't remember the situation surrounding it, but vaguely.
Okay. Ms. Bedard, let me ask you this. You mentioned someone named Adam. Who is that you were referring to?
It was Travis's friend,
You know Adam's last name?
Montgomery.
And you mentioned someone named Kayla. You know her last name?
Montgomery.
Back in early March of 2020, did you have an occasion to visit them at their home?
I did.
So, Ms. Bedard, I'm handing you, it's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 65, or 55 rather, and 56. Can you take a look at those each in
Yes.
turn and just look up when you're done?
Yes, I remember those.
And you're smiling.
I do, because he was the cutest little boy ever.
Okay, let me ask you this. The images that are depicted on those exhibits, what are they from?
They are from their apartment on Union Street.
Okay, and when you say their apartment,
Adam and Kayla's apartment.
okay. And is there an individual depicted in the exhibit?
Yes. His name is Declan, I believe.
Declan.
I don't remember. We were there for me and Travis were there for a short period of time, and I love little kids because it reminds me of my children. So I sat and played with them the whole time. So
And do you see a phone in that photograph?
I do.
Do you recognize it?
It looks like one of my old phones.
The child that's depicted,
Mhm.
did you take that photograph?
I did.
Okay. And was that a fair and accurate representation of that photo on your phone?
Yes,
And how about the second photo?
it is.
And that's referring to State's Exhibit 56 for the record. Also fair and accurate representation.
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves to strike the ID of State's Exhibits 55 and 56 in Marcus Bowl.
Any objection?
No objection.
The ID is stricken. They are entered as full exhibits. They may be published to the jury.
So, Ms. Bedard, you said that you recalled taking this photo. And I believe you said it was at their apartment on Union Street.
Yes.
Did that photo actually record the
The
time
location.
and date?
I don't know if it recorded the time, but I know it had. Okay, it must have. Yeah.
So specifically referring to State's Exhibit 55, did the photo that you took record the specific time and date that the
Yes,
photo
it
was
did.
taken? And what was that?
It was Sunday, March 1st at 6:02 p.m.
March 1st.
Yes.
Okay. And referring to State's Exhibit 56, did that record the location that you took that photo from?
Yes, it did.
And what was the location?
It just says Union. It doesn't give the exact address. It just says Union Street.
Is there an intersection?
Yeah, Orange Street and Union Street.
I'm going to take those back from you. Thank you. So you mentioned you recalled being at their apartment briefly. Is that correct? So I want to go back to this stay of yours at the Econo Lodge. You said that you may have recalled putting a room in your name for them.
Vaguely.
So do you recall putting whose name the room in? Do you recall the defendant, Adam Montgomery, also being at the Econo Lodge?
Yes.
During your stay? And during that period of time, your stay at the Econo Lodge, did you become aware of a U-Haul?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors what your familiarity is with the U-Haul rental?
There was a U-Haul that was rented in someone's name, but and I don't remember exactly why. They needed a card on file. I'm assuming because they asked if I could use my card to pay for it.
And when you say they asked, who?
It was Adam and the person, I don't remember what his name is, that they ended up putting the U-Haul's name in.
Okay, so you remember another individual being there.
Yes.
Okay, but you don't recall that individual's name.
No, I do not.
And it wasn't Travis Beach.
No, it was not.
So during that time when you were staying in the Econo Lodge, it sounds like you recall putting at least one of the rooms in your name. Is that right?
Yes. Travis and I had gotten a room. And
during that period, did you lose your ID?
yes. Which happens quite a bit apparently. That was when I first moved back and I had just gotten it and it got stolen from me at the DMV.
So was that recovered? Your
No, it was not.
did you put the U-Haul in your name? Do you recall?
No, I do not.
And I think you mentioned this other individual. You don't know their name.
I do not remember what his name was.
No further questions.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jamie Brooks, and I represent Mr. Montgomery. I'm also just going to ask you a couple of questions. On direct, you were asked about the O'Connell Lodge, and you were staying there with Travis.
Yep.
And Adam and Kate were staying in a separate room.
Yes. They were on the floor below us, I believe.
Before you checked into the O'Connell Lodge, you were at the Comfort Inn.
No, I've never stayed at the Comfort Inn. They have too high of a security deposit.
Okay, but you were at the Comfort Inn in an effort to try to check in there, right?
Yes, and that's when I didn't have the money for the deposit, and so we were leaving to go to another hotel.
While at the Comfort Inn, you saw Kayla in the parking lot.
Kayla and Adam, yes.
And with Kayla, you saw her with a CMC bag, correct?
I seen this stroller and I remember, I don't know if it was exactly a CMC bag. I remember there being a tannish, whitish bag in between the seat of the two boys.
And Kayla was in possession of the stroller where the two boys were.
Yes.
Commissioner, vote your honor.
Yes.
Ms. Bedard, I am handing you what has been marked States 52.
Mhm.
Does this look at all familiar to you?
It does. I mean, from the top, it looked like it had something in it. So, I mean, the bag was set down in between the stroller, so you could only see like the top part of it. But yes,
And again, this was a bag that you saw in Kayla's possession,
yes.
not
Well, not. It was in her. It was in the stroller,
in the
and she
stroller-
was pushing the stroller.
in the stroller that Kayla was pushing.
Yes.
You did not see the bag in Adam's possession.
No.
Thank you, Ms. Bedard.
Just one question. You said you saw that stroller in the parking lot?
Yeah, they were out. I want to say they were outside when we walked outside to leave to go to the Econo Lodge.
Leaving Kayla
Kayla and Adam.
and two boys?
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
All right, you may step down. State may call its next witness.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state will call Mr. Dennis Cloutier to the stand, please.
Dennis Cloutier.
This way, if you please come up to the panel there and watch your step on the electrical, please. And Mr. Cloutier, sir, if you could please remain standing just for a brief moment. I'm going to have you raise your right hand and swear you in. You solemnly swear to tell, you solemnly swear before this jury that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat.
All right, sir, is that your phone that just?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
it's
going to ask
turning
you
it
to
off
turn it
when
off,
it's-
please.
Thank you.
Oops, hate when that happens. Forget to turn the phone off.
Sir,
Yep. it's all
just
set.
turn your phone off.
Yep.
And I'll ask you to remove your glasses, please.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cloutier. As we're being recorded here today, would you please state your full name, spell both your first and your last name for the record, okay?
Dennis Timothy Cloutier, DennisCloutier.
And Mr. Cloutier, what town do you reside in?
Allstead, New Hampshire.
How long have you lived in New Hampshire?
Uh, Pretty much my whole life, but I moved away for a few years.
Okay. And what do you do for work?
I'm a maintenance man,
How long have you been doing maintenance?
25 years.
25 years. Let me ask you, are you familiar with an address called 644 Union Street?
Yes.
How are you familiar with that address? Could you tell the jury?
I contract for maintenance from the landlord, so I take care of it.
And when we talk about contract for maintenance, what kind of work do you do for them?
Paint the apartments when they're empty, fix things when they're broken.
What about when you say fix things that you've broken? Just thinking about all my contractors that I might have. Do you do plumbing,
Yeah, basic.
electrical?
Yeah, outlets and such, nothing more than that.
Okay. Are there sort of lights repairs? There's a
Yeah.
hole in the wall or something like
Yeah, exactly.
that. Locks,
Locks,
screen and doors.
screen and doors,
Okay. And what about flooring?
flooring. Yeah.
Okay. And let me ask you with regards to, I apologize. Also, do you do set up an apartment for when a new tenant's going to come in, or do you clean out apartments when old tenants move out?
Both.
You do both.
Yes.
All right. And how long have you been doing that at 644 Union Street?
2007.
Okay.
That's when the landlord purchased it.
And you're still doing it to this day?
Yep. Worked there this morning.
All right. I want to know, are you familiar with anybody by the name of Tara Hilbert at that address?
She doesn't live at that address, but she lives around the corner in another building that same landlord owns.
Okay. And do you ever interact with her with regards to doing these setups, clean outs, painting, things like that?
Yeah, every now and then we need her to transfer keys or drop off paperwork for a new tenant. If they're going to look at an apartment and no one's around, she'll open it for us, that sort of thing.
Okay. If I could approach the witness.
Yes, you may.
Scooter, I want to show you what's been marked States Exhibit 136 and 137 for identification purposes only. Let me show you States 136 first. Do you recognize that photo?
I do.
All right, what do you recognize that to be a photo of?
The corner of Orange and Union Street.
And the building you told me about a moment ago, 644 Union Street, is that shown in that photo?
It is.
Is it labeled in that photo?
It is.
Okay. And what does the label look like, just to tell our jurors?
What, the red little icon?
A red icon, okay. And let me also show you States Exhibit 137, again, for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that image?
Same property.
Same property?
Correct.
I believe you said before that Ms. Hilbert was living in an adjacent property?
Correct.
Okay.
She lives in this building.
Okay. And by that, you're pointing to a building on
137 Orange Street.
137, okay.
Correct.
And with regards to these two particular photos, other than the fact that obviously they got a little red sticker down here on the bottom right and they were come off of Google, other than that, do they look to be accurate for the building that you service and that you're
Correct.
familiar with?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the identification be stricken on States 136 and 137.
No objection. All right, the ID is stricken. They're entered as full exhibits.
So, Mr. Bluter, I want to ask you specifically about what other individual besides Ms. Hilbert, and that is showing you States Exhibit 101. Do you recognize this person?
Adam Montgomery.
Have you interacted with Adam Montgomery before?
I have.
And was he, did you ever service a unit that he was staying in at 644 Union Street?
I did.
Well, when you met him, did you meet him in person or over
In
the
person
phone?
in his apartment.
And how many times would you say? More than
Uh,
once?
I think I was in there twice.
Twice. Okay. Let me ask you, did you ever have a maintenance request for that particular property back on February 27th of 2020?
I did.
Okay. And when you have a maintenance request, what sort of paperwork gets generated for when you do service on a unit?
Well, the way it works is everything is pretty much a verbal agreement. And then when the job is performed, we hand the landlord a bill. And there's a record of that.
And so the record of that,
It's all invoices.
and that was going to be my question, the invoice.
Yes.
Could you describe to the jury what those invoices look like?
They're triple carbon. You know, the white, the pink, and the yellow.
So 3 different copies. So you
Yes.
fill it out one time,
That's
you fill
it.
top,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
just makes the copies as we go down.
Correct.
Let me go ahead and I'd like to go ahead and show you States Exhibit 70 for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that?
I do.
All right, what kind of document is that?
That's one of my invoices.
Okay. When you said before you got the white and then the white, pink, green?
Yeah, no,
pink,
white,
yellow?
white, pink, and yellow.
White, pink, yellow, so this is the bottom copy.
Correct.
Okay. And for that particular invoice, you just told us a moment ago about doing some work on February 27th. Is that the invoice from that day?
It is.
Okay. And other than the fact that there's a red sticker on it, any changes to that from when you remember turning that copy in?
Not at all.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the identification be stricken from States Exhibit 70, please.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, the ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit. It may be published to the jury if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cludier, I want to ask you just a couple of quick questions about the job that you did on this day. Specifically, when going through, we'll have an opportunity to look at this more later on. What kind of work did you do for that? I'm going to leave it there in case you have to refer to it, but what kind of work did you do at that point?
Oh, the guy called about his tub not draining. I knocked on his door. I met him in the kitchen, went around to the bathroom, noticed that the overflow plate where the drain lever is was missing a screw, turned sideways. And he said the drain did not drain.
Right.
So I removed the rest of it, went down to the truck, got a snake, snaked out the drain, discovered that he had dislodged the actual plunger that hooks to the lever. So that was stuck down in the drain. So I removed that completely, went back to the truck, grabbed a brand new plate that doesn't have a lever hookup, and he just didn't get a lever.
Okay.
You see what I mean? And I just put a blank plate on that so it could at least overflow water. And that was that. So I snaked the drain and replaced the plate.
Sounds like it was, would you say that that was a fairly easy repair that day?
Yeah, it was in and out of there in maybe 35 minutes.
Okay. While you were there, did you see anybody else inside the apartment?
Yes, I think the woman, Kayla,
Okay.
and some children were on the couch.
Okay. And the children, you said that they were on the couch. Let me ask you, the size of the bathroom in that particular apartment, how big are we talking, or how
Really
small? Are we
small.
talking? Really small.
Really small.
Okay.
Like a galley bathroom.
Okay. I see what you mean. So if I come through the door of the bathroom,
If someone's standing behind the door of the bathroom, it won't open.
okay.
It's a small bathroom.
Right. The plate that you said was off.
It wasn't completely off. It was missing a screw. It was hanging sideways.
hanging
It takes
side.
it takes two screws. If you remove one, it's gonna rotate over sideways.
So when it was rotated over sideways, could you see kind of down back into where that overflow drain was?
Yeah, that's the point. That's where you enter the snake when you snake out a bathtub. You remove the overflow plate.
Okay.
So
And you're not about to say when, excuse me, let me back up a little bit. Having one screw on an overflow plate, that's not a way that you would typically leave an apartment when you go to get it ready for a new tenant. Am I right
No,
in saying that?
no,
With regards to when you're doing this repair, where is Adam Montgomery?
right outside the bathroom door.
Okay. And are you guys talking at all during that time?
Not really. He's doing more pacing than talking. So
More pacing than talking.
yeah, he was just kind of waiting for us to finish.
With regards to that particular apartment, I'm gonna grab that invoice back for a second. After this time period, were you ever called to go back there to do other sorts of maintenance repairs?
I think I had to go back one more time to fix some lights on the ceiling.
Lights on the ceiling?
Yes,
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
they were just popped off the ceiling. They were hanging by the wires.
Literally
Yeah,
off the ceiling.
yeah. The wires weren't disconnected. I mean, a light isn't heavy. The lights we use are real light. They'll hang by the wires and still work, but they were hanging by the wires. So put them back up.
Any idea how those lights got pulled down?
Speculation.
Excuse me. I'll withdraw the question and I'll rephrase. With regards to those lights, did Adam Montgomery tell you how they got pulled down?
He said he took them down because he thought there were cameras in them.
With regards to other electrical work, did you do any other kind of electrical work on that unit while he was residing there?
I had to replace the thermostat.
You had to replace the thermostat.
Correct.
Any other electrical repairs that you know?
No, that's it.
And let me ask, when you later on that particular apartment, when you do clean outs, could you describe for us what you do in the apartment for a clean out?
Throw everything in bags and bring it to the dump. Rip the carpets out and bring those to the dump.
Okay. Do you remember doing a clean out of this particular apartment after the Montgomerys left?
I do.
Commissioner Procher.
So he repaired the bathtub. It was a very quick in and out repair. It was really helpful to understand how small the bathroom is. He says it's such a small bathroom that if someone's standing behind the door, you can't open it.
For the clean out that you said that you would rip different things out, just in general, correct?
Not, well, whatever's damaged and needs to be replaced.
Okay. What about appliances? Do you ever remove those?
I do.
Okay. And do you have any recollection whether you ever removed any appliances from that unit?
Yeah, we threw the fridge away.
All right. Mr. Clutie, those are all the questions I have for you. I appreciate your time today. I believe defense counsel may have a couple.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, sir, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2:45. Perfect timing for our mid-afternoon break. I remind you, don't talk about the case with each other or with anybody else. Don't do any independent research. We'll come back in about 15 minutes. All right, all rise for the jurors, please.
All righty. Things are moving apace. Things are moving apace. I think that they seem to be moving along pretty quickly. They had talked about yesterday that there were true witnesses that they weren't able to call
Short
yesterday.
break. You'll remember that if you want, when you want Mr. Middleton, we'll just need a little bit of extra time.
Your Honor, I think, you know what, why don't we just go ahead and do that now? We're going to take him out of order. We'll have him right now so we can get him done today. I want to make sure he's done on time.
Okay, so we'll bring him up. They're right there. Okay. And then we'll bring him in once the jury is seated. Is that what everybody agrees to do?
Either way, Your Honor, that's fine with the state. No preference. Whatever's best for court staff.
I'm trying to figure out what they're doing here.
Pardon me. We would, because we will be handing him some documents. Thank you.
So I don't want to make the decision for you. Tell me what you want to do. Do you want him on the stand beforehand, or do you want him to be brought in?
I think it's okay for him to be brought in, Your Honor. That's fine.
So let's bring him up, put him in there. As soon as we get the jury in, we'll bring him in. Okay? All right.
Okay. So the next person to testify, it sounds like the next person to be on the stand will be a incarcerated person. I don't know who that is, but they were just trying to figure out, do we bring him in? Do we bring in the witness? Do we bring in the witness while the jury is watching or not? That was basically the conversation they were having. So I'm very curious about who this is. It could be Adam's jail buddy, but it was the defense that put Adam's jail buddy on the witness list. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We will have to see. You know, it's so hard to hear some of the questions. I agree that Sally, Jesse, Elaine, Oriani, Raphael, her cross-examination and her speech is very hard to follow. I don't know if it's a good. I don't know if the state can call Adam as a witness. Oh, that's right, bootleg. Sorry, I forgot the bootleg part. Just as a reminder, please hit the thumbs up. Consider becoming a member. I put the link in the chat. So the court monitor, for those people who have been asking, it depends on how long your showers are, Johnny. So I don't know. You have 15 minutes. They said 15 minutes. So roughly 13 minutes at this point, because it's been like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, something like that. The Queen Bean, when exactly did they cut out the sheetrock? Well, definitely not for at least 2 years after the alleged event happened, right? But I don't know the exact date. It would have been 2 years, at least 2 years, because Harmony wasn't even reported missing for 2 years. So they got away with this for 2 years, basically scot-free. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that's easy to, especially if you don't know this case very well. And I'm getting more acquainted with the case as I'm covering the trial. That one of the most important things to remember is that this little girl was missing for 2 years, but nobody reported her for 2 years. Reported her missing for 2 years. She was a little girl who was done dirty by many, many parties. Her mother was a drug addict. She went into foster care. So her mother went in and out of losing custody. And then at some point, Adam was able to get custody. Now, in another stream, we had talked about how long Adam had Harmony. And I misstated it and said I thought that he had her for a couple of years. He actually only had her for 10 months. So think about this. Now, I don't know if this is before that 10 months when he started to have custody of Harmony, but my understanding is that this picture was definitely taken when he was actively trying to get custody of her. So, of course, they're going to take these, really cute family bonding pictures to be able to show to a court, and show evidence that they're a happy family and things like this. But she only was officially in his care for 10 months. So think about that 10 months that went by that she was in his care, and Kayla and Adam went from looking like this to Kayla looking like this in her mugshot. All right. That is tragic. It's absolutely tragic. And imagine, they're taking more care of themselves than they're taking of their kids. Right? Thank you for saying that, Chopper. You'll give you hugs from a distance. I appreciate that. So the pic was from a DCF visit in 2017. Interesting. And got it. Okay. That pic was from a Department of Child Services, basically, visit in 2017. The murder was she went officially missing. Not officially missing, sorry. The last time anyone saw her alive besides Adam and Kayla was in 2019. Right? Thank you for becoming a member, Jamie Lee. Appreciate that. I have a short court clip for you. Just something to keep, to get some levity in here, because this is a heavy subject matter.
Poured yourself a mega pint of red wine, correct?
A mega pint.
Yeah.
Good old Johnny. Good old Johnny. I know that it boggles the compassionate human conscience to think, how could a child be missing for 2 years, even when you're addicted to drugs? There's just no good explanation for it. There's literally not one good explanation for it. There just isn't. I wish I had a satisfactory explanation, but I just don't. It is unfathomable to me. It's so hard. And we can all understand addiction without understanding the lengths you will go to maintain your addiction. So Stacy says, when Kevin testified to how many people he told about abuse, I was shocked. Yeah. Yeah. So Kevin Montgomery, Adam's uncle, was living with Adam and Kayla. He saw Harmony's severely blackened eye, and he made calls. He questioned Adam about it. Adam lied about it. Saying something happened, and Kevin made calls to CPS and the authorities. And my recollection of the testimony from the CPS worker is that when he first got the call, he went and kind of drove by the house and saw Adam going into the house with Kayla, but he didn't notice, I'm sorry, with Harmony, but didn't notice from afar whether she had that black eye. And then and then he didn't go back for another 2 weeks, or there was some number of days that passed. It was between 5 and 10 days. And when he went back, he saw redness, but he didn't see the major black eye, and he had the conversation and everything, and left everything intact with her in his custody, all good in the hood. And to me, that is just heartbreaking, because it's these workers who are supposed to understand the nuances of addiction and mental health and domestic violence, and be able to pick up on those signs with their expertise, knowing that someone like an Adam or a Kayla could just straight up lie. Yeah, there are many functional addicts and alcoholics who never do this kind of harm to their children. They are being selfish. I wish they weren't addicts and alcoholics, but it doesn't cause them to be just insanely neglectful to their child, and then and also not just neglectful, but abusive, straight up abusive. Right. So it's really this is the kind of case that really, when all the information comes to the surface, this is the exact thing that agencies like, law enforcement agency, government agencies that are paid to do a job, to do a service for the public, they dread these cases, because this is where all the information comes out about how bad it is, how broken it is. And usually really individuals may get reprimanded, but not the entire system isn't changed. Harlot says, according to Crystal, that's Harmony's mother, Demetrius was Adam's DYS counselor. I was originally thinking DCYF counselor, but DYS is Division of Youth Services. So it sounds like he was Adam's counselor when Adam was in child services. And if so, that's fucked up. I agree. I didn't know that, Harlot. If that is true, I agree. Right. And there is a huge, huge bias toward keeping families with their biological families. I have not heard anything, Angel. I haven't heard any result out of this morning. So there is the courts are conditioned over years and years and years. And I think the laws back this up, but they're slowly starting to come around to understanding that parents, even if they're the biological parents, are not necessarily the best guardians for the children that they bring into the world. Landry says, my aunt, who's 80 years old, has custody of her 2 great granddaughters. 9 and 11-year-old, had them for 7 years, and just passed away. Kids get her SS benefits. Now mom wants kids because of the money. Of course. Yep. It's just when kids are used as tokens like that, tokens. Oh, I get the token now. Now the token comes to me. That is just absolute, completely bullshit. I mean, and yeah, family reunification, always top priority and mandate. You know, and it goes along with, you know, an idea of having family values and wanting to keep your family together. I get that. Family values, great, fantastic. But doesn't that sort of depend on the family? If you are able to show that a family's values are legitimately harming, a family's values include abusing children sexually and physically, and you know, something that's harder to discern would be emotionally. But if those are the kind of values that we are imposing, we got to relook at that. I'm sorry, we just do. We just do. We know too much. Their choice of drugs was, yes, heroin, fentanyl, and crack. Jen P says, my lifelong BFF I knew since kindergarten was a functional heroin addict for years. I had no idea she was using it till she got fired from her job for stealing meds. Downward spiral began, got too much. Right. And that's the problem with drug addiction is you do think that you'll be able to maintain functionally for, you know, and a lot of people can maintain functionally for quite some time, depending on how they are. But it's always going to get worse because your tolerance is going to get higher. So you need more of it. And that costs more money. So then you need more money. And maybe you don't make enough money to get more. And then all the toll that it takes on your body and who you are as a human being. It is an illness. So, you know, when you actively start engaging in taking a drug that you know is addictive, it's almost like saying, you know, it's a more drastic decision than other things, like maybe starting to smoke or you know, or other things. It's a choice you're making, knowing that it's going to potentially cause you addiction. And a lot of people go into it thinking, oh no, I'm strong, I'll beat it, I won't get addicted. But that's ridiculous, because they are designed to be addictive. That's how they're designed. They're designed to make you want to keep coming back more and more, to spend more money with the drugs, spend more money to make the drugs, all that stuff. So it's very sad. It's very sad. And you know, just my little internet plug here. The internet is also designed to addict you. So if you feel some weird kind of way about, gosh, I just feel like I need to keep going online, it's because you were conditioned to be that way by the way the internet and the systems behind it were designed. I'm sorry to say that, but it is just the truth. It is just the truth. So we, as you know, individuals, have to learn how to shore up our own internal defenses from getting that addiction, because the internet is everywhere. It's almost like being in water. Yeah. Well, you are correct, Harlot. In fact, you say they hacked our brains. I helped start a nonprofit with a guy named Tristan. This guy Tristan was a former Google employee. His startup had been purchased by Google, and he left Google because he had raised the alarm inside and said, hey, you guys, what we're doing is wrong. It's wrong for the world. We have to look at this. They took his opinion but they didn't make any changes fast enough. So he left and he started a nonprofit that I was involved with. And his first TED talk about this topic was about how they are hacking our brains. When you speak in that kind of language, it's not very mainstream because a lot of people don't, think of hacking as just a, straight computer term.
Just a minute.
So they tune out. So he had to mainstream his message. And that was eventually how, if you saw a documentary film, it's really a docudrama on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. That was the beginning of telling the mainstream how this is working. But it takes a long time for people to really start to understand that information and absorb it to the extent that they know how to prevent themselves from getting hacked, basically. So what about the inventor of AI? He's terrified of what he created. There are several different inventors of AI, but yes, you are correct. The people who were involved in the very early invention of AI and programming of it have come out and said, hey, you guys, I know I was part of inventing this, but I'm here to tell you, we have to pay attention to this. It's moving too fast, right? So just a note, they did come back into court, but now they are having another sidebar. They're probably talking about the next, yeah, that's right. iRobot is here. They're probably talking about the next witness, the incarcerated individual. We shall see who this person is. Unfortunately, I tend to agree with you, Scarlett. I keep calling you Scarlett Harlot. Yep. There's so many people in the world, and then each country. No, I can't imagine what it'll be like 50 years from now. Something has to break, give. Something has to give. Jamie Lee says this is a problem nationwide. Our economic system with our children are overlooked and the system is overloaded. There are not enough healthcare professionals who care for the welfare of the children, and there are not enough healthcare professionals or child services professionals who understand the very complex world of mental illness and mental health. And they think much more, they prioritize physical health, and they don't equally prioritize mental health until it's too late, until they start to see horrible behavior and signs of the mental illness. What made Kayla leave Adam? I know she got called by police for weapons charge, then was asked about Harmony and called Adam to come back. So she said that he beat her. She said that after everything happened with Harmony, then he started beating her and she left because of him beating her, and she went to a shelter. That's right, Jen P. I know. To me, it was
All rise for the jurors.
infuriating. Oh, there's the ghost part. Right. Didn't leave because he was beating Harmony or killed her, according to her testimony. Beat her because left him because she was beat. And it's just hard to fathom. Okay, jury is coming in.
Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state calls Mr. Brendan Middleton to the stand, please.
Brendan Middleton.
Again, Your Honor, he will need to handle documents. We've already discussed this. Good afternoon, Mr. Middleton.
Sir, if you could just remain standing for just a moment.
Absolutely.
Please raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear that you will tell this jury the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat.
Thank you.
There's some fresh water there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Middleton, as we're being recorded here today on the record, would you please state your first and last name and then spell both your first and last name for us?
Brendan Middleton, first name Brendon, last name Middleton.
And Mr. Middleton, how far did you go in school?
I got my GED.
Okay. And let me ask you, at this time, are you currently residing at the Hillsborough County House of Corrections?
Currently, yes.
Okay. And when's your release date, sir?
I just found out yesterday I'd get out in July.
In July. Okay. I'd like to ask you with regards to, that's where you're living now, but where were you living back in March of 2020?
The Welcome Home in
Welcome.
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Manchester, New Hampshire. Is that on Concord Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me ask you, when you were also one other date. So we've talked about March of 2020. I want to jump forward a little bit in time and talk about July 6th of 2022. Where were you living then?
I believe I was homeless around that time.
Home at that point?
Either welcome home or homeless. I've lived there on and off a couple times.
Okay. I'd like to ask about a name, Brittany Bedard. Do you know who she is?
I know the name and kind of remember her face, yes.
And what about Travis Beach? Do you know that name?
I do.
Okay. And how do you know him?
I met Travis through work when I was doing tree work at Accurate Tree Service. And Brittany was eventually his girlfriend.
That when you met him, Brittany was his girlfriend, or I'm sorry, you just said
later in
eventually.
time. I met Travis and he was single at first.
Okay. All right. Back in March of, specifically March 3rd of 2020, did you agree to rent a U-Haul van for Travis Beach?
Yes.
Okay. Could you go ahead and explain to us why did you rent a van for him that day?
To my knowledge, Travis had contacted me. Him and Brittany were dating. They were looking to move furniture from her father's house. They didn't have a card or the money to do so. I've always been told and raised to help my friends and people I care for. So I agreed to do so. I met them at the South Willow U-Haul, or the gas station next to U-Haul. I went to U-Haul, rented the van for them, drove it over to the gas station, met them, and had left it in their hands.
All right. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions about that. The U-Haul, I believe you just said it's the one down on South Willow Street?
Correct.
Okay. And the gas station where you met them and gave them the U-Haul, where was that in relation to like the South Willow Street U-Haul?
I believe it's right next door to it.
Okay.
Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there's a store in between, but if to my knowledge and what I remember, it's right next to it.
And how did you end up paying for that U-Haul?
With my debit card.
When you rented it, did you have to fill out paperwork or check off some boxes?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And did you have to go through that before they would give you the keys to the
Yes.
van? Did you have to sign for it at one point?
Yes.
Obviously, this was back in March of 2020, so I take it you don't have a copy of that paperwork with you.
No,
do you?
no, sir, I do not.
If I could approach, please, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
So this witness is not the one that was on the defense's
I'm gonna
witness
give you
list.
the Copy of what's been marked States Exhibit 94 for identification purposes only. And I'll go ahead and take that out for you. You can go ahead and just generally flip through. I'm going to turn a cover page, kind of look at page 1 of the substantive exhibit. Take a minute to look through that and each of the next pages. Take your time. And then I've got a couple of questions for you when you get done, okay?
I did.
Generally, that group of information, do you recognize that as a copy of your contract that you signed for
Yes.
this rental?
Yes.
And when you look through there, did you see anything familiar, like your name or your license number or date of birth, something like that?
Yes.
Okay. And with regards to the other details of the rental, are they all contained inside that document?
Correct.
Other than the fact that this does not have your hand signature on it, with that difference and the fact that the first page here has got a little red sticker, any other sort of changes from when you remember going through that same paperwork in those same fill in the blank sections as when you see it here?
No, as far as to my knowledge, this is everything that I remember. Yeah.
Right. At this point, Your Honor, I'd ask for the identification to be stricken from State's Exhibit 94, please, and it to be a full exhibit and published to the jury.
No objection, Judge.
All right, the ID is stricken, it's entered as a full exhibit, and it may be published to the jury.
Thank you. Mr. Vinson, I'm going to let you hold on to this exhibit. No, you're good with it.
Okay.
What I want to do is ask you a couple different questions about some of the information that you filled in on this particular rental that's seen there in the documents, the ones that you signed for. And you can look either at what's in front of you, or if you want to turn around and look at the screen, if that's easier to see, let me know.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Wilson, I want to go ahead and start with a little bit of this agreement that you signed for to get this particular U-Haul. And I want to go ahead and go to the very first page of the document if I can. And so that to let you know, and the jury is also going to be looking at the same pages that you're looking at. Exhibit 94, and we're going to look at the very first page. So at the very top, could you go ahead into the area where it says customer information and contact search and tell us a little bit the name that's filled out? Is that your name, Brendan Middleton?
Yes, it is.
And did they spell it correctly?
Yes, they did.
And with
His birthday
regards
was
to
yesterday.
the address that was put down, the 60 Londonderry Road in Wyndham.
So that address was the address on my license at the time. I had gotten out of rehab and a couple years before that,
Mhm.
and didn't have my driver's license. My friend that lives at that address, very close friend of mine I've known since 6th grade, they had taken me in. Her mother had taken me to go and get my driver's license reinstated, things like that. That is the address I had, or I needed an address to use. That was the address I had at the time.
All
So
right.
that's what the address they used when I filled this out, because that is what was on my ID.
I understand. That makes sense. Question for you on this is, again, you said that your name was correct. I also want to ask with regards to the phone number on there, that's 603-401-9158. You see that there?
Yep.
Is that your phone number at the time?
One of many old numbers, correct?
Okay. And what about the date of birth, sir? Is that February 14th, 1996?
That is correct.
I wish you a one-day belated birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Going on with continuing to the document, I want to stay here on the very first page again of Exhibit 94, and I want to talk about the address of the rental and where you rented it to. Does it reflect the same place that you just told us a moment ago, the South Willow Street address where you got the rental?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And with regards to the time and the date, is the document accurate in that you got it on March 3rd of 2020 around 3:49 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to staying at the lower part of, again, same page, first page of the exhibit, I want to talk to you a little bit about the information where it says dispatch. If you see there, what was the equipment number that was assigned to the van that you got?
BE4352W.
All right. And the specific time and date that it got sent out, what was that under dispatch date and time?
March 3rd, 2020 at 5:49 p.m.
And then finally, with regards to the pickup odometer, and of course, you're familiar with what an odometer is, right?
Correct.
All right. And what did the odometer, what was it recorded as reading when this van went to you?
5,092.
5,092 miles?
Yes, correct.
What I'd like to do now is kind of stay with that first one. And I want to ask you about the difference between when the time went out and when the time went in. So you can stay with the dispatch section, or if you'd like, you can also look at the screen. I want to talk about the return just underneath. So again, are we talking, what's the return date that this van went back to U-Haul?
March 4th at 1:47 p.m.
So that's the following day?
Correct.
All right. And what was the odometer reading when the van went back?
5,225.
And so if I could direct your attention to the screen just for a minute, I want to be able to put both the out time and the back time, the out odometer and the back odometer up there for when this van got dispatched out. And just to confirm with the jury, this is the van that you rented. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So let's see, that's 19 hours, 57 minutes for a rental and what, approximately 5,225 minus 5,082, around 133 miles or so, give or
Correct.
take.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'd like to now, if you would go ahead and flip over to the second page of that exhibit, again, staying with exhibit 95. I'd like to talk a little bit about, there was an additional contact that you listed with U-Haul for the rental, and who was that contact?
Travis Beach.
And the phone number that was put there for Travis Beach, is that you gave that to U-Haul, or did Travis give that to U-Haul?
I believe that Travis gave me the okay to give his name and number for it.
Okay.
Again, I mean, this was a few years now, but to my knowledge, yes, I had the okay to do that. And he was willing to do that as well. So.
And I know you said before that, I believe you testified a few minutes ago, you met him at the gas station to get him the van.
Correct.
All right. Did he go into the U-Haul with you to do the rental? or
He
no,
might
was
have.
at the gas station?
I don't exactly remember. I just know that my vehicle was over at the gas station and I did not leave it unattended. So I don't know if one of them came with me or none of them came with me. I can't exactly remember, but I know of me personally, yes, I went into the U-Haul.
Right. And when you say them, one of them came with you, who are you referring to? Who's
I
the
want to
them?
say it might have been Travis, but then again, it could have been Brittany. I don't really remember.
So them is one of those two, Travis or Brittany?
Yes, correct.
All right. Thank you. Skipping now, if you could, I'd like to go to the fourth page, if you would. Oh, you were the authorized driver on that, correct?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to go ahead and if you could go to the fourth page for us of the exhibit, and I've also got it up behind you. I would like to ask you a little bit about, again, the customer information. That's your name, again, being listed down there with 60 Londonderry Road of Wyndham. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And separate from that, also, again, the rental out time, is that reflected on there? That March 3rd, 2020?
Yes, sir.
All right. 5:49 p.m. is when it finally went out?
Correct.
Right. Moving a little bit lower, the equipment, where it's listed below where it says equipment, is that same BE 4352W that you read before? That was the equipment number back on page 1?
Yes.
All right. And what is the string of letters underneath that?
AJ78147-AZ.
And are you familiar with what the license plate was on that U-Haul?
No, I do not remember.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and bring you through a little bit farther into the document. First of all, was it your signature block that would have been down at the bottom that you would have signed on page 4?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to jump now to the next page of the document, page 5. Again, it's got yourself listed as the customer. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the phone number, again, I want to make sure that that's accurate. That's the phone number you gave before, 401-9158?
Yes, sir.
Skipping along to page 6, if you would, please. I'm gonna flip one more. And I want to talk about the rental date time for when it was returned. Do you see that at the top left-hand part of the screen? I'm sorry, the top left-hand part of the page?
Yes.
Where it says rental date and time and then return date and time?
Yeah.
Okay. And could you read for us what the rental date and time was, please?
March 3rd, 2020 at 5:49 p.m. and the return date was March 4th at 1:47 p.m.
And later on that page, if you look a little bit below there, again, down from there and slightly to the left, I wondered if you could go ahead and read us the equipment section where it says equipment before it goes MI out and MI in. What's the equipment information that was listed in your rental?
BE 4352W.
And the next string of numbers and letters?
AJ78147AZ.
So that was AJ 78147 AZ.
Correct.
Mr. Middleton, I want to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 100B for identification purposes only. With regards to that exhibit, do you see that same string of letters and numbers in there, the AJ 78147AZ?
Yes, sir.
You see that also on this particular document?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Having seen this document, does that help refresh your recollection of what the license plate number was for that?
Yes, now it does.
And what was it?
AJ78147.
And the mileage back in where it says MIN, could you read again what that last mileage was, the reading from the odometer?
5,225 miles.
Thank you. Finally, on the next page of the document in front of you, Exhibit 94 still, is that a promissory note?
I'm sorry?
Is that listed as what's called a promissory note at the top?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what a promissory note is?
Not exactly. You'd have to I believe from what I read, it's me promising the money that's owed.
Okay. And that's okay. If you don't know, I don't want you to guess. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, no, I do not fully understand that.
All right. That's all right. Thank you. With regards to that, though, on this particular document at the very top of the page, is your phone number listed again? And your name, your address of 60 Londonderry Road that you gave in Wyndham. So basically your name, your email, it's all of that listed again.
Yes, sir.
And does it also include your date of birth again?
It does.
And then finally, with regards to that same document, if you would look in the middle, sir, of again, top of page 87, does it specifically list out what the license plate is of the vehicle that was rented?
Yes.
And what does it list?
AJ78147. Well,
On this particular trip, when you rented this, or not trip, but when you rented the van, at that point, I believe you testified on direct that you then got it to Travis Beach at the gas station. Did you ever see that van again?
no, sir.
Are you the person that returned that van?
No, sir.
When you got him the van, did you get your car back? Or was your
Yes.
car right there, I should say?
Yes, I had parked the van. I had gotten back into my car and I left and they left in the van.
And who did you see leaving the van, just to be clear for the jurors?
Travis and Brianna.
Brianna, Brittany.
Brittany, I'm sorry.
I just want to make
Brittany.
sure we're accurate.
Yeah,
And was that Brittany Bedard who you were talking about
Yes,
before?
correct. Brittany Bedard.
Did you know Adam Montgomery back
I've
then?
never heard of his name at the time.
And what about Caleb Montgomery back then?
No, sir.
Back then, did you have any idea who they were?
Nope.
Did Travis ever talk about the name Adam Montgomery when he asked you to get this rental for him?
No, sir.
Did Brittany Bedard ever talk about an Adam Montgomery or Caleb Montgomery when you were interacting with her and Travis that day to get this rental?
No, sir.
Just a moment, please, Your Honor. Mr. Middleton, I had asked you about where you lived at a couple different times, not only back in 2020, but also on July 2nd of 2022. On that day, do you recall Manchester police officers coming to talk with you?
I do.
And did you agree to talk with them?
I did.
The rental that we just went through, is that what you talked about with them on that day?
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the conversation, did they tell you why they were asking?
Yes, I had asked them.
Well, hold on, I'm not going to go into it. I just want to know whether or not you told them.
Yeah, I
or
did.
if they told you why they were asking.
Yes, they did.
Did you know Harmony Montgomery?
No, I did not. I mean, at the time I had heard of what was going on, but I did not know her.
And so at that time, when you rented it, you had no idea what that van was going to be used for, did you?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe defense counsel may have one or two.
Appreciate it.
And good afternoon, Mr. Middleton. I do not have any questions.
Thank you.
All right, so you may sit down.
Appreciate
We'd
it.
ask for the witness to be excused, please, Your Honor.
Any objection? This witness is excused.
Hey, Delaney. So basically, this witness was there to testify that it was his ID
Call this next witness.
that was used and name that was used to rent the van, but he did not go with them. He was asked for his ID by Travis and Brittany, or Travis. Travis is the former boyfriend of Brittany, who just testified a bit earlier. So it sounds like her name was used for some things. This witness's name was used for the U-Haul. All right, next witness is, we shall see.
All right, thank you. Would you please raise your right hand, ma'am? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Please feel free to have a seat. Ms. Smith, as we're being recorded here today, would you please state your full name and spell both your first name and your last name for the record?
Roseanne Smith, Roseannennesmith. Most people call me Rose.
Ms. Smith, let me ask you with regards to, and are you currently a New Hampshire resident?
I am.
And how long have you been living in New Hampshire?
Since about 1980.
1980. And how far did you go in school?
High school and then some college.
And with regards to work history, what are some of the different jobs you've had in your time?
I was a child care provider. I am currently a yoga teacher. And I drive for a non-emergency medical transportation company.
This just a little bit closer.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
And there's some water there if you'd like. Feel free to pour
Thank
yourself a fresh glass if you would care to. Ms. Smith, you said you drive sometimes for was it a medical care transportation?
It
Or
is a
could you
non-emergency medical care transportation service, and that is fueled by Medicaid.
and what's the name of that service?
That's Pelican Transportation.
Do you still drive for them?
I do
And how long have you been doing that?
for 5 years.
5 years. Okay. For providing those sort of transportation services, could you just explain to the jury briefly what your day-to-day interaction kind of looks like with a different patient who needs transportation for medical services?
Yes, I provide service to recovering addicts going to methadone clinics, to kidney dialysis patients going for kidney dialysis. I bring people to Easter seals. So I provide a service to people who cannot drive themselves.
Okay. Let me ask you, are you familiar with a person, and did you ever drive a person by the name of Kayla Montgomery?
I have.
And have you ever driven a person by the name of Adam Montgomery?
Yes, I did.
Where did you give them rides to? And I'm sorry, what kind of rides did you give them? What services did you drive them to?
I drove them primarily to the methadone clinics on Market Street.
On Market Street?
That's correct.
When you first started driving them for trips to the methadone clinics on Market Street, where were you picking them up generally in the city?
Yes,
Excuse me.
December 14th, 2019, I began picking them up from Dubuque Street from their parents' house.
And later on, did you ever pick them up from the vicinity of 644 Union Street?
Yes, I picked them up from Union Street as well.
With regards to the two of them, would you drive both of them at the same time, one at a time, the entire family with children? How would you
Entire
drive them?
family. I would drive the entire family, and they would go in and dose, and I would sing Baby Shark with Declan and Seamus.
And those were the two children that they had with them?
That's correct.
Okay. And did they have a child with them named Harmony?
No, they did not.
I'd like to ask you specifically about one particular incident in 2020 with regards to a ride that you gave Kayla Montgomery. Um, and what I'd like to ask you about this is with regards to a conversation you may or may not have had then with Adam Montgomery. Okay. All right. You have to say yes or no. I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's how we record here.
Yes,
All right. Do you know the incident that I'm talking about?
I do believe I have.
Okay.
It was
So
2021, right around March and spring. Well, hindsight is 2020. It was around 2021 that the incident happened.
well, then that's what I'd like to ask about. March of 2021. Thank you for correcting me. So in March of 2021, would you say, would you or would you not agree that this incident was not like this driving was not like other driving that you've done for them?
Absolutely, it was something I will never forget.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to raise your voice. It's a big room, and everybody here needs to be able to hear you.
Okay,
Thank you.
it was not like other rides.
Okay. I'd like to ask you, when you first did you see Kayla Montgomery on that day for this particular ride?
Yes, I did.
And without going into what Miss Montgomery said, when you saw her face, how did she appear to you?
Her left eye was badly bruised and starting to swell shut.
Did you drive her that day down to the methadone clinic?
I drove both of them that day.
And with regards to, pardon me, excuse me, with regards to that drive, had you driven Miss Montgomery the day before?
Yes, I had.
Did she have that black eye the day before?
No, she had not.
So on that day, when you drove her down to the methadone clinic with the black eye, who else was in the car with you and Miss Montgomery?
Adam,
Adam. And by that, you mean Adam Montgomery?
that's correct. Yes.
Smith, I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 101. Do you recognize who this person is?
Yes, that is Adam Montgomery.
And this is the other person that you drove in that car?
That's correct.
Were Declan and Seamus with them on this drive?
I do not believe so. I think Kayla said she left them with a neighbor.
Hold on just a
Oh,
second.
okay.
I don't want to ask what Kayla said quite yet. So
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay, the children were not in the car with them that day.
Okay. So they were not with him that day. When you saw Kayla with the black eye and you were driving down to the methadone clinic and back, how was she moving in her car? Could you describe physically what you saw in terms of her movements?
She didn't move very much, and she didn't say very much because Adam was in the car.
At some point in time, did you pull out your cell phone? And can you
She had asked to use.
hold on just a minute, Ms. Smith. I'm sorry. I can't ask you what she said to you.
No.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what happened in the car,
Okay.
physical movements, okay?
Yes.
And I apologize, that's on me. I should ask more clarifying question or a
Okay.
more specific question. With regards to the drive to the methadone clinic,
Yes.
did anything occur in the car on the drive down to the methadone clinic?
No.
Okay. And then for the drive from the methadone clinic on Market Street back to Union Street,
Yes.
let me ask you, the event that I want to ask you about, did that occur when you were back at Union Street?
Yes.
Okay. When this event occurred, where was Kayla?
In the front seat beside me,
And where was Adam at this point?
walking away from the car.
And with regards to there with Kayla, what, if anything, did you try to give Kayla?
I tried to give her my phone.
What did you believe she was going to do with the phone?
She said, well, I can't do, she said.
No.
She wanted to call for help.
Okay. And with regards to that, how was she physically at the time? I know you've described the black eye already. How was she physically when you went to try to give her the phone?
She was shaky.
Where was Adam when you tried to give her the phone?
He was walking back towards the car, but
And so at that point, you said he was walking back towards the car.
I didn't see Adam there. I saw rage. So pure rage walking towards me.
What did Adam do as he, and were you in the driver's seat?
Yes.
And where was Kayla?
Beside me in the passenger seat.
And what did the defendant do?
He reached into the window of the car and twisted my phone out of my hand and said, "You're not giving my wife that phone."
What did you say to him when he did that to you?
I looked at him and I said, "Adam, I love you. Please give me the phone back. I'm trying to help you guys."
What did he do then?
He then gave me the phone back and I was able to give it to Kayla.
Did he say anything else?
No.
So that you begged him for the phone back,
I begged
essentially.
him for the phone back. I did report that
Let me ask about that. You said you reported that.
to my boss, not the police. I reported that to my boss, and I told her that I didn't think I should be picking them up anymore, that I had been very frightened by what had happened. And thereafter, I carried pepper spray.
Thereafter, you started carrying pepper spray because of this.
Yes.
Can you just have a moment, please, Your Honor?
She is oozing with honesty and authenticity. She was trying to help. She felt like she was dealing with a person enraged. She was scared of him because she sees that he had just beat up his wife. His wife is trying to call for help, and he's enraged that she's trying to call for help. She's clearly still hurt and angry over it.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I apologize, Ms. Smith. Sometimes we need a minute to confer. One thing I just want to clarify with you, and to make sure that I understand accurately.
Attorney Gotti, if you would use the microphone and keep.
Sorry,
your
Your
voice
Honor,
up,
I thought it
please.
was close
Thank
enough.
you.
One question that I would like to go ahead and ask you and just trying to clarify is I know that you testified a moment ago that this occurred in your memory, that this was back in March of 2021.
Yes.
And I want to ask you whether or not you are sure with regards to that particular date.
I am.
Okay. Do you feel that at all that, or excuse me, have you ever provided statements to others that had occurred in the spring of 2020 other than 2021?
I had to meditate on that. And I concurred with my boss. We have records.
You have records.
At Pelican Transportation has records.
Okay, so let me just try to clarify. So when you say I had to meditate on that,
I asked my boss.
you asked your boss. Okay, all right. Meditation out loud. So you asked your boss about the date and when you asked to not have to drive them anymore. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. And after doing that, you looked at some records?
Yes, my boss has all the records of when we pick them up and when we drop them off.
And after speaking with your boss, now your memory is that this was in 2021 rather than 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Smith. I don't have any further questions. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
Okay.
And hi, Ms. Smith.
Hi.
Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Yes.
I'm sorry about what happened. I can tell that it shook you.
Mhm.
But this was March of 2021.
Yes,
No doubt in your mind about it.
that's correct.
When Adam took the phone, you told him that you loved him,
I did tell him that.
and he gave you the phone back.
He softened and he gave me the phone back.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Very briefly, Ms. Smith, you
Yeah.
said that he softened.
He did. The
Softened.
anger in his face went away, but the rage that he had in his face, and then that knee-jerk reaction that he had to it by snatching my phone out of my hand, it was very frightening.
I understand.
It was assault. Thank you. All right.
Nothing here, Judge.
You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude the testimony for today. It's about 10 of 4. You've been very, very attentive. We all very much appreciate that. I'll remind you, don't speak about the case to anybody, not each other or anybody else. Don't do any independent research. Don't drive by any locations. Don't look up any names or any people on social media. Please avoid all media having anything to do with this case. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8:45 for a 9 a.m. start. Thank you so much for your time and attention, ladies and gentlemen. All rise for the jurors, please.
Congratulations, Johnny. Yeah, they do end early in this. Usually, most trials I watch don't end until 5 o'clock. And every day they've been ending at 4 o'clock, but they're pretty much sticking to the schedule in terms of keeping things moving. And I do appreciate what that last
All right,
witness
anything-
tried to
Yes,
do.
okay.
All right. Well, they're calling it a day there. It doesn't sound like we're going to hear anything else. It is a well-run trial. So that testimony was important. It definitely was important. What you had there was a witness to the fact that Adam and Kayla were being driven to the methadone clinic with their 2 boys, not with Harmony. And on this one occasion, it was very different from other times. She had previous experience with them. And she picked them up. Kayla had visible bruising marks and things like that. She was very uncomfortable. She didn't speak a lot, meaning Kayla in the van. And then when Adam left the van, this lady tried to give Kayla her phone to use. And Adam came back in a rage and snatched it right out of her hand. She feels that that was assault. That's a legal conclusion. It probably was the way he did it. And, you know, in order to de-escalate him, she said, "I love you. I'm just trying to help you guys." And then he softened and things pretty much stopped. So that was important testimony. It shows how quickly, you know, there's more witness testimony to the fact that Kayla had been beaten up, that he could turn on a dime. You know, his mood could change on a dime. Well, Johnny, the defense is not supposed to object to what a witness says. They object to the question that is asked. So it wouldn't be proper for them to object. It would be just asking a follow-up question to clarify what they mean by that, or to say, can you come to a legal conclusion? But anyway, right, they could ask for it to be stricken if they really feel that way. But she was just stating an opinion. You know, it's not like it's going to change drastically. Her saying that is not going to change drastically the jury's opinion, right? Yeah, they can have, yes, they definitely can have testimony stricken, and they didn't. It's not like she went on and on, right? She didn't go on and on and on. She just said that one thing. And the defense also has to realize that when they come across looking too aggressive, especially with a very sympathetic witness like that, that works against them with the jury. You're being too aggressive, right? So I've been updating the witness list, checking off who's been testifying. And so far on, that's the wrong one. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 9 people on that list. 2 on this list. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 30. So far there have been, by my count, 32 witnesses. 32 witnesses. Good mix of, civilians with law enforcement. It was a very interesting day. We basically had the DNA expert come in and say, yep, I wasn't able to match Adam's DNA to where Harmony's DNA was. We had the co-workers who testified to Adam, witnessing Adam bringing in a bag and bringing it in and out of the freezer. We had the testimony of the people who helped rent various, make various rentals in their name in what we believe was Adam's process of disposing of the evidence, which is his daughter's murdered body, unfortunately. And then we have this riveting, very compelling, and very credible testimony from a woman whose job is to help people like Adam and Kayla from, staying in active addiction with, hard drugs, and taking them to the methadone clinic so they can at least try to be parents to their children without withdrawing, the horrible idea of withdrawing from the opiates, right? And so she's just doing a service. She's doing her job. She witnesses this, and it's compelling testimony. It really is. So I want to thank you all for being here with me today. I appreciate you being respectful in chat. I gotta take this off. Let me silence something really quickly. So yeah, it was a bit of a mic drop moment. It was very compelling testimony, and she was likable as a person. She really came across well. So I do hope that you all have a great rest of the day, and appreciate you being here. And I will reschedule for tomorrow, Friday, and we'll see who joins the stand tomorrow. Alrighty. And just as a reminder, tomorrow evening, I'm going to be on Alex Erickson's channel for a recap. So, and I know many of you are already subscribed over there. So, all right. Thank you so much. And I will see you soon.